Most of us are aware of the cookies you take out of the oven. But how about the ones that store your data on the internet? If you surf the web regularly, chances are you've seen a pop-up when visiting a website asking for permission to use cookies, tiny data files containing a user's personal information or preferences. While cookies can enhance a user's online experience, there are still privacy concerns that your data could fall into the wrong hands. Joining us to unpack internet cookies are Blaise Assistant Professor of Computer Science at the University of Chicago, and Derek Eder, founder of the data consultancy DataMade and weekly tech event Shy Hack Night. Welcome both of you back to Chicago tonight. So Blaise, absolutely. Blaise, let's start with you, please. What are cookies, not the oatmeal raisin kind, and how do they impact our internet experience?
Sure. Cookies are small files that your web browser basically collects as you visit different websites. And they were originally designed to be able to store information. So typically when you visit a website and go to the next page, the website wouldn't know, hey, you're the same person. So it's named after actually, in fact, fortune cookies, where you have a small little bit of information in there. And there's a distinction that's going to become actually important as our conversation goes on between first-party cookies and third-party cookies, where if you're going to WTTW's website and WTTW stores a cookie, that's a first-party cookie. If, however, on the WTTW website, it's loading ads from Google, and Google also stores a cookie, that's a third-party cookie, and that's where a lot of the tracking across websites you visit happens.
So if someone does click no to alert, to that asking permission alert to use cookies, does that change the website experience?
Go for it, Derek.
I'll go ahead and take this one. Yeah, so it actually depends, right? Some websites will respect that, but others won't, right? Some of these websites will just have the trackers on by default and won't ask your permission. In fact, in the US, that's pretty typical for most websites. It's only been introduced to websites in Europe in the last few years, thanks to some privacy legislation that was passed a number of years ago that ask your permission. But by default, hey, you're being tracked.
And we are going to get to that GDPR that that I think you were just referring to in just a minute. But Derek, is there a difference between what some might call essential cookies, like data for logging in, and those that are less essential, more arbitrary cookies?
Yeah, so essential cookies are just as Blaise described. They're cookies that are helpful for remembering your login on your websites. They're fundamental parts of the web, and those are going to stick around for a long time. Those are really useful tools. But then there's these other cookies that are used for tracking advertising. So you can go to one website and have a cookie set by one of these tracking websites, and then you can go to a number of other websites and still be tracked by those same services. And all that information feeds in to these vast advertising networks that can track and make value out of that data, know where you've been, which is something that can be really valuable to them to figure out what to show you in terms of other ads.
So Blaise, how do cookies pose a security or a privacy risk, and what could happen if that information should get into the hands of hackers?
So I think in a lot of cases, in your typical browsing, the biggest risk is privacy. So as you're browsing the web, a lot of advertisers will assign you a pseudonym, essentially. And now every site you visit that also includes, for instance, ads or other content hosted by that advertiser, the advertiser knows what page you've been on by the way that the web is constructed. And so I think that's probably for the average internet user, the biggest risk. There are also security risks in specific situations. So as Derek mentioned before, when you're logged in, the information about how you're logged in is stored in a cookie as well. And so if someone gets that, for instance, by snooping on your Wi-Fi connection or by installing malware or viruses onto your computer that steals those cookies, they're actually if they steal your Facebook session cookie, they're logged into Facebook as you. So there are both privacy and security risks in different situations.
So a big reason, of course, for website alerts asking for permission to use cookies, I think everybody started to notice it happen a couple of years ago, was the General Data Protection Regulation, that sweeping data privacy law passed by the European Union back in 2018. Are there additional or further efforts to limit the use of cookies, either by policymakers or internet browser companies themselves? Blaise, I'll throw that one to you.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think some of the most effective actions in recent years have been from the browser vendors. So Mozilla Firefox changed its default cookie policy. So for instance, the third-party tracking cookies, the ones that are used to profile your interests across websites, Firefox now blocks those by default. There's a privacy protective web browser called Brave browser that also blocks lots of third-party cookies and has many other privacy protective features. And fellow Chicagoans are actually core parts of their privacy team. And so these browsers have been pushing away advertisers' ability to track people with third-party cookies. And so a lot of recent proposals by the advertising industry I would characterize as a bit of a panic move that their ability to track is slowly being eroded by browser vendors.
Derek, is there a middle ground here between data privacy and the optimal internet experience? Like, is asking for this permission for these cookies, is it enough? Or should we do away with cookies for the sake of privacy?
It's a great question. It's hard to challenge something that's been around for so long, and the internet's foundation is really mostly built on advertising. So it's a huge multi-trillion-dollar industry, it feels like, that has with all this data. And so I think what people really need to do is to learn a little bit more about what these kinds of systems can do. And I think the more they learn about it, the more rightfully kind of creeped out they are by it. So as far as the middle ground goes, I think people are slowly trying to take back some of those privacy rights. You see that with, as you mentioned, GDPR. There's policies that have actually been pushing against this. I think it unfortunately needs to keep going in that direction. I really do feel like we need to have more regulation and more privacy, and people need to really have ownership of their own data and rather than being surveilled constantly by unseen forces.
And meanwhile, maybe a regular cookie purge on your computer and in your pantry. My thanks to Blaze and Derek Eder for joining us. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Thanks.